Hi. Few days back, US did airstrike on Iran's nuclear facilities. They said that they're doing so to prevent Iran from making nuclear weapons. As per some reports, Iran was few weeks to few months away from making a nuclear weapon. But do you know that this is not the first time that US has tried to cripple Iran's nuclear facilities? In fact, 17 years back, it almost crippled Iran's nuclear facilities, all the centrifuges, not by dropping bombs, but by an invisible weapon. This is the story of Stuxnet, 500 kilobyte deadliest cyber weapon. Uranium starts as a rock. Now miners blast it out, crush it, wash it in acid or alkaline leach, and then dry the dissolved uranium as yellow cake, a chalk-like substance which is shipped in 200 liters drum. Only 0.7% of natural uranium is fissile isotope U-35. To make use of natural uranium, which is uranium-238, to usable substance, which is uranium-235, it has to be enriched. But how? Now it is done with something called a centrifuge. The gaseous uranium is pumped into a centrifuge, which is a slender aluminum tube, a bit like basketball bat, and that centrifuge spins at 1064 rotations per minute. Now with this centrifugal force, uranium-238 is flinged outward and the lighter U-38 gets collected near the axis. One machine generates a very tiny amount of uranium-235. So engineers chain thousands into a cascade. Add enough cascade and you climb the scale. Now that scale was exactly what Natanz was built to climb. Natanz is Iran's crown jewel. 5,000 IR-1 machines humming beneath 25 feet of reinforced concrete. The US did consider airstrikes, but it risked fallout and war. So Washington and Tel Aviv drafted a subtle plan. Operation Olympic Games. Engineers in Idaho built a complete replica of Natanz centrifuge machine as the lab wherein they're going to test out their cyber weapon. Developers packed 4 never-seen zero-day exploits and 2 real digital signatures into one 500 kilobyte worm. So what's a zero-day attack? Typically, these worms exploit the vulnerabilities in the operating system or in the software. And zero-day attack is the vulnerability that is never seen before. When this pops up, then it takes a lot of time for engineers to release a patch so that same vulnerability is not exposed anymore. But there was a problem. Natanz was air-gapped, means there was no direct connection of Natanz to outside world in terms of network. Typically, you would have anything that is connected to outside world via internet, but Natanz was far complex. So the worm or malware had to be brought physically inside Natanz nuclear power plant. Just to let you guys know that Stuxnet is not officially owned by US or Israel or any other country. Just to generate one zero-day attack, it requires immense amount of manpower and resources, and generating 4, and that is why it is said that it is state-sponsored malware. Stuxnet had 3-stage payload: recon, mask, and sabotage. So the centrifuge machine, which was built by Siemens, had many steps. Of course, after infecting the centrifuge, recon was to stay quiet until Siemens step 7 was done, and then the mask, that was to record the genuine sensor data and then play the loop back to the operators. And sabotage was every 27 days forces the rotor to speed up from 1065 RPM to 1410 RPM. And then this is the important part. Slow it down to just 2 RPM and then speed it back to 1400 RPM. This constant slowing and speeding of centrifuge slowly killed the rotor. While this was happening, the second step mask in the screen let the engineers know that, well, everything's okay. The status was green. Imagine you're redlining your car and then suddenly stopping the engine and doing it again and again. Of course, this would not be good for your engine. This started to show its effect. In 2009, IAEA recorded 1,000 centrifuges being replaced in Natanz power plant. Now, plant power that dipped about 13%, matching these sabotage cycles. Until 2010, no one knew that Natanz power plant was attacked by a malware when some of the computers in Natanz power plant started to act weird. And it had antivirus from Symantec, so Symantec engineer was called in to look at it. And the engineer, Sergey Ulasin, he was shell-shocked what he was seeing. A very complex malware. While analyzing this malware, they found a file with the name of w32.stuxnet, and very aptly they named this malware as Stuxnet. In 2025, US chose iron and fire, but 17 years back, a 500 kilobyte of code quietly did the same job. Bombs or bugs, both now sit on the same shelf. So, what could happen next? Let me know your views in the comment section. Hope you liked this video. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time around. Bye bye.